after. So we have with us today three great presenters. One is Jane Humphries from the Community Foundations of Canada. And we have Iwona Olkowicz. I'm sorry for misspelling your name, Iwona. And she's from the Academy for the Development of Philanthropy in Poland. And we have Katarina Minarova, and she's from the Association of Community Foundation of Slovakia. And the facilitators are me, Daniela Santos. I'm the program manager for WINGS, and Ana Pino, who's helping me, and she's the knowledge management coordinator. So a quick overview of the agenda. We have an introduction and a welcome, and after that we'll have a quick poll, and then we'll start with the content with Jane. Before, she's going to give a general overview of the toolkit, and then we'll have Iwona. She's going to talk about the Community Foundation movement in Poland, and then Katarina Minarova. She's going to give some highlights of standards and collaborations for best practice. And then we'll finish with another set of 2 questions of polling, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers or comments from the floor. So who is WINGS? You probably all have heard about WINGS, and we are a network of networks in philanthropy. So we are a global network, and we are the only truly worldwide network that represents and serve the broad community of grant makers, foundation, and philanthropy support organizations. So our mission is to strengthen philanthropy and the culture of giving through learning and support, knowledge sharing, and professional development. So we recently released our Community Foundation Benchmark Toolkit. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, you can do it. The toolkit is in our website. This is how the toolkit looks like. So if you go to our website, wingsweb.org, you can click and explore more the toolkit. We'll send the link after with this webinar. So this is our website, our new redesigned website, so you can check the toolkit there and more information about Community Foundation, our Knowledge Center. So I'll pass the floor to our first speaker, who is Jane Humphries, and she's going to be talking to you right now. Jane? 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 So Jane, yeah, you're muted, so you can take the floor. Jane? Okay, we'll do the full. Jane.
Yeah, hi everyone. Apparently Jane's having a few technical issues, and while Daniela helps her, we'll do the poll actually to get to know you a bit better. So our first question is, who are you and what kind of organization do you work for? Is it a community foundation? or an association and support organization serving philanthropy? Is it an association serving community foundations? Or are you an individual consultant, an organization or a group providing services to the philanthropic sectors or others? And what's your primary interest in joining our webinar today? Is it learning about techniques on community philanthropy between different cultures, gaining knowledge to strengthen your practice, building links with WING's network, a global network, or a general interest in the topic? We're just getting answers now. Just to take a few minutes to get everyone to answer it. Okay, if you have any problems answering questions, just send me a message on the chat box. Okay, just a few more seconds. Guess everyone has replied by now. So you have about 15 seconds. Okay, so about 13% of you are community foundations, and then have 47% associations and support organizations serving philanthropy, and then have others. And then if you'd like to send us who you are and what kind of organization you are that we didn't cover here, yeah, just tell us about it in the Q&A session or send us a message on the chat. And the reasons for joining the webinar: most of you to gain knowledge and strengthen your practice, and a general interest on the topic.
Okay, thank you, Anna. So we'll now pass the floor to Jane Humphries. Jane, can you? Jane? Jane is still having some technical problems. So, Iwona, is that okay if we start with you?
I can start, yes.
Okay. So we'll do a little change while Jane, Iwona will do her presentation first, and then we'll go, then Jane will go after. Okay, Iwona, you have the floor. I'm going to put you in full screen so you can change your presentation and share with us what you have for us today.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Before I start talking about the standards, I will present shortly the Academy, which is support organization of Community Foundation movement in Poland. Our field of interest is primarily local development, especially community foundation development. We support small communities and youth, mostly by giving scholarship and promote scholarship programs in Poland. We cooperate with business and promote CSR activities. And we promote philanthropy, mostly individual philanthropy, through memorial funds and, for example, charity celebrities program. I mentioned about it because it's important in community foundations supporting process, because we transfer our knowledge to them, so this is important to have various experience with various groups and partners. Mostly we give grants and scholarship, but we also conduct campaigns, such as the campaign called We Are Today, Tomorrow, Always, which promotes memorial funds. This is the first such a big campaign in Poland. And we organize competitions and actions, such as Benefactor of the Year or Charity Celebrities. Till at the beginning, from 1998 till 2006, we supported community foundation development in Poland. But the next year, we spread our experience to the Visegrad Group countries. And we in 2007, we started developing the V4 Community Foundation Maturity Program, supporting community foundations at different stages of development in Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and Poland. And in 2008, the Federation of Community Foundation Network, Community Foundations in Poland was set up. Many years ago, the Community Foundation Network operated as an informal network, but 4 years ago they decided to formalize the structure and they established a federation. And we, of course, cooperate with the federation very closely. Here we have a map of Community Foundation in Poland. We have 26 community foundations at different stages of development. They covering quite a big part of the country, but they don't cover the whole Poland, unfortunately, yet. They operate mostly in small communities in rural areas. Just a few community foundations operate in the big cities. And this is important to know it when we talk about community foundations in Poland. The main problems or challenges that we are facing in Poland, especially in small communities where community foundations operate, are poverty, high unemployment rate, low level of education, migration from small towns to the big cities, or abroad, small number of active NGOs, and lack of giving tradition among the individuals and corporates. So, what community foundations do to face these challenges? They provide grant programs, and each community foundation has at least one grant program addressing youth, senior citizens, disabled people, or just local communities. Community foundations also provide scholarship programs. This is quite popular activity in Polish conditions. And apart from community foundations, we have plenty of NGOs running local scholarship programs as well. Moreover, community foundations organize Benefactor of the Year or Gala or Philanthropist of the Year Gala, and they promote the individual and corporate donors and corporate philanthropy. They refer to the local historical philanthropists such as Gregorowius in Nidzica or Ferdynand Schichał in Elbląg, and they give the Gregorowius statuette like an Oscar for the best movie. So it's a big celebration in the community foundation town or city. They organize charity balls or charity events to promote the community foundation achievement and to promote philanthropy as such. And they raise money for public collections. Current situation of community foundation in Poland is that we have various stages of development of community foundations. We have quite well experienced organizations such as Elbląg or Goraj Community Foundation. And for example, the endowment reached 1 million zloty this year. So it's quite big amount of money for our organizations, and they spend at least the same amount of money for grants and scholarships till now. And of course, we have emerging community foundations, so they have to cooperate and support one another. And about the self-help, it's quite new ritual in the federation of community, in the group of community foundation, that they offer mutual support to share best practices, to implement new offers for donors, to meet regularly, and to cooperate very, very closely. One solution or one program is implemented in other community foundation, and this is a practice taken from the Slovak Association. So we also learn from other associations how to support our members. About the standards were set up in 2010, so it was just after 2 years of starting the federation operations. And the standards, it's a quite long list, I will not read it, but the standards concern such aspects as goals or fields of interest, the structure of community foundation, the advisory bodies, etc., partnership or cooperation with donors, types of variety of programs addressing to communities, types of beneficiaries or variety of beneficiaries the community foundations work for, and the financial issues like financial management and investment policy, as well the minimum endowment. And to become a member of the Community Foundation Federation, the candidate must raise at least 50,000 zloty on endowment. So it's quite difficult to fulfill for now in these circumstances. And some standards are required by Polish law, such as reporting or applying safe investment policy, but some standards are set to distinguish community foundations from other NGOs, to demonstrate the difference between community foundation and other NGOs, because in our country we have no specific law on community foundations nor the endowment. So the standards are important to demonstrate the community foundations are different organizations than regular NGOs. Standards are important to raise the credibility among the donors and partners, especially for new partners and donors. To promote the community foundation concept between other NGOs and informal groups in other parts of Poland. And mostly to build the brand of community foundation. This is important, to build a brand of community foundation as trustful, reliable, and philanthropic organization. And in my opinion, standards are also important to raise the quality of other NGOs, because we have many local grant makers, many organizations that support scholarship program, and they really look for best solutions, good patterns to follow, and community foundations are very, very good patterns to be followed. And the major challenges connected to standards are to redefine the standards. I mean, to focus more on the activities, types of activities, program activities, rather than numbers. The more important is the willingness to build the endowment rather than to raise a specific amount of money for endowment. And another challenge is to support community foundations that not meet all the standards. Community foundations have to support one another, cooperate strongly to support and to develop the organizations and to raise the quality of the activity. And for me, from my point of view, not for me, but from my point of view, the biggest challenge is how to build the endowment, especially for emerging community foundations, because now it's much more difficult to build an endowment than 5 years ago. We do not have any specific law on endowment, as I said, but the government is changing the regulations of raising money from different sources, and raising money in Poland is going to be harder and harder. And the last challenge is how to raise the national visibility, because community foundations are well known at local level, but they are not very well known at national level. So maybe they are thinking about implementing rituals, celebrations, and actions, national actions to be more visible, like common programs or national holiday for community foundations. That's the challenge that they are facing. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iwona, for your great presentation. So we will now go to Jane Humphries with us, and she's going to introduce us the Community Foundation Benchmark Toolkit and also give an overview of her experience at Community Foundation of Canada.
Hi, Daniela. This is Jane. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, just waiting for the presentation to come up.
Okay. So your presentation is on. You should be seeing now.
I'm still seeing Iwona's presentation.
It just sometimes takes a while through the internet. I'll try again. Jane, your presentation should be on. Can you see it?
No, I'm sorry. I'm still seeing the presentation, the last presentation from Iwona.
Okay.
Bear with us, everyone. We'll just try to fix this little glitch, and we'll go. Okay, now we've got Katya's presentation.
So can you see your presentation?
No, it's the one from Slovakia now. It's Katya's.
Okay.
Now we have the wings one.
Okay.
Only one left, Danielle.
I'm closing all the presentations. Okay. You should see yours now. I apologize for this. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Going back to the beginning. Okay, there we go, everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we've done here in Canada around benchmarking. And before I jump into that, I just wanted to follow up on Daniela's opening comments around the toolkit that CFC, or sorry, not CFC, but WINGS has pulled together based on a series of peer learning events, some surveys that we had done, some case studies that had taken place over the last 4 or 5 years. And this identified that it could be useful to associations and community foundations globally to have some sense of what the different countries are doing to support the work of community foundations, and kind of coming up with some sort of a benchmark that would show what it is that a good community foundation practice is all about. And it can go from the standards piece, which Iwona just spoke about, to principles and values, which I'm going to talk about, the kind of piece that we use to do it. And then we're going to go through that whole piece. So WINGS CF, which was the kind of community foundation branch of WINGS, compiled this information and then put it into the toolkit, which I would really encourage you to go and look at on the website. It has a variety of approaches, and it's got 7 different countries that people can look at to kind of see what they're doing. So in Canada, community foundations have sort of 3 things that we've put into place to help them determine what their best practices are. There's a set of 10 principles that guide our work. Those principles are backed by 8 good practices that we encourage community foundations to do. And that is followed with the criteria for membership in Community Foundations of Canada. So by having that criteria, we have a way of looking at whether or not community foundations are kind of meeting the principles that we've set forward. So I want to quickly run through the 10 principles because I think it'll give you a good sense of the kind of values that we have and that we're trying to embrace. Our first principle is based on building community vitality, and we talk about having strong communities in which everyone can participate. We talk about community foundations nurturing and building a community's strengths and their assets. And we try to develop local leadership, invest in a sustainable community, and we try to mobilize civic participation and resources. So that's sort of the overall principle. And then from there, we understand our communities. So we expect community foundations to look at what the changes are in the economy, to understand that what the trends are, how demographics are changing, and that we actively participate in the life of the community. So the Community Foundation is not a bystander, but an actual participant in what's happening in the community they represent. The next principle is around opportunities for dialogue and inclusion. We talk about being a very nurturing community, bringing people together to create opportunities and enthusiastically participate with dialogues when others are convening them. So we're not always a convener, but we do always participate. Community foundations are really encouraged to embrace partnerships, whether that be with municipal government or a provincial or federal government, whether it be with other funders, other foundations, other organizations. But we just feel that by embracing that principle of partnership, we can get a lot more done in our community. We don't want foundations to stray away from tackling those pressing issues. So believing philanthropy has a role to play in addressing some of those issues and tackling those tough problems. And again, the working together piece is important for this principle. We embrace diversity and foster renewal. Great strength in diversity. As our community foundations, we have a responsibility, we think, to reflect that diversity. So when we look at recruitment to our board members, recruitment of our volunteers, people who sit on our grants committee, we're looking for them to represent in the full diversity of the communities they come from. And then we look for granting in what we call breadth and impact. So are our grant dollars really seizing those opportunities, finding those solutions? Do we grant across the whole spectrum of community life? And are the organizations and programs that we're supporting, are they making a difference? And then the other side of the grant making, of course, is about building community assets and championing philanthropy. So how do we work with our donors? Are we open and inclusive? Do we try to find solutions to the kind of work they want to support, matching that up with that? So we're very much passionate champions of our donors. We want to have a principle about learning and sharing. We have extraordinary opportunities to learn from our groups, and what are the pieces there that we do about how we learn and how we share? And many of our community foundations right now, in relation to this principle, are setting up what we're calling sort of community knowledge centers, where their community foundation is becoming the center for knowledge about the community and its issues, problems, and how to help. And then our final principle is about being responsive and accountable. So being credible and reputable stewards, looking for the best ways to invest our assets, being open and accessible, fair and objective. So really, we have nothing to hide and being very responsive and very accountable. And that sort of leads us into that whole piece about accountable, responsive, and transparent governance. So we want our community foundations to have policies and practices that reflect the values and their vision and mission, that inspire trust, that stress the fairness and the inclusivity and being inclusive, and that are regularly reviewed. So not good enough just to put them in place, but look at them often. And I think the way we do business is important, and that's what Community Foundations of Canada looks for. Do our members have practices and operations that are clear and open, ethical and objective? Do they demonstrate current expertise in financial management? And are there ongoing learning opportunities that they can take part in? And then these are the practices that I mentioned. You can see them on the screen. And so we try to provide resources and material that look at all of these practices. How do you do good governance? What are the practices you need to have in place to be accountable? Do you have good human resources pieces in place? And are your communications material actually up to snuff? So those are the practices that a foundation works with. And then that leads me to the sort of the final piece of this is the criteria for membership in community foundations. And I've taken this right from our membership form. I think it's important so that you see that we're fairly strong in what we're saying. So we're saying, I'm going to show you the 7 criteria that we have in the next slide, but we're saying that should any of this criteria not be met at the time of completing the form, that we will work with you toward meeting that criteria within a certain amount of time. So we ask our members when they complete the form to indicate that they have completed the 7 criteria I'm going to show you, or if they say they have not, we have made a commitment to them to work with them to help them meet the criteria. So it's not standards in the sense of, you have to pass this, but it is, we've just chosen to talk about it as being criteria. So we've outlined the principles, which all of our members have signed off on, and then we've talked about the practices and created materials to go to help them put those practices in place. And then the final piece is this criteria. So the 7 criteria that we have, you can see here, the first one is talking about the regulatory issues that in Canada they need to meet. So they must be registered as a charitable organization, and they have to be in good standing with our tax people, which is the Canada Revenue Agency that oversees the work of charitable organizations. To be a member of CFC, you have to be independent of governors and governments, donors, corporations, and other groups, that you truly are an autonomous organization. You must be led by a volunteer board of directors, and your role as a community foundation is primarily that you have a growing collection of funds that serve the many interests of the donors, and that there is some permanent endowment included. So we're a little looser on that. And then the last 3 criteria that are essential is that you have to demonstrate that you're prudent and responsible steward of those assets, that you grant at least once a year, that you have a cycle, and that you describe yourself as a community foundation in your marketing material. And then these are some criteria on this slide I've listed that are not essential for membership, but we strongly encourage it. So again, we develop a lot of our training materials and our resources and our publications that look at helping our community foundations live up to this piece around what they need to do. So it's about grant making and becoming knowledgeable about the community. It goes back to our principle about partnerships and convening activities. It's about communicating regularly with the public so that people know who you are and what's happening. And it's about having plans in place to address all of the activities of the foundation. So do you have a plan, and are you reviewing it and updating it? And do you have a way of evaluating the programs and the services that you offer so that you know what impact you're making and you have some way of judging, you know, if you need to make some changes? And do you engage in the programs and services offered by Community Foundations of Canada? Are you taking advantage of those resources that we have? That really is Community Foundations of Canada's approach to this, the benchmarking for community foundations. And as you're going to see with our 3 presentations, there's many ways to establish that, and this is just one of those ways. I've listed my contact information here, and I've also listed the link to the Global Status Report of Community Foundations, which was last updated at the end of 2010. And there's some really valuable information in there as well about the work of a community foundation and how to describe it and what it looks like. So I encourage you to go and have a look at that. So Danielle, back to you now. This is your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Jane. So now we'll be hearing from Katka. I'll just ask you just 1 minute of patience because I'll put her presentation back since we were having trouble. And I would take the chance also to ask you to, if you have any question, any comment, anything you'd like to ask any of the presenters, please use the box, or either the chat box or the question and answer box, and we'll be following you.
Yes, this is Jane again. Just while Daniela's getting that next PowerPoint loaded, we really do encourage you to send us some questions. It always makes it a bit tricky when we're delivering our presentations and our PowerPoints this way because we don't get to see your lovely smiling faces. So please do send us your questions or comments, and we'd be really very happy to discuss them with you.
Okay. So Katka, your presentation is on.
Hello. I hope you can all hear me all right. I'm Katarina of the Association of Slovak Community Foundations, not a full-time employee, but a part-time volunteer, part-time paid person. My brief presentation today will be about standard application and best practices sharing. And before I start speaking about the association itself, I would like to say a few things about Slovak Community Foundations. At the moment, we have 10 foundations in the country, 8 of which are members of the association. All of them started between 1994 2002, so most of them are quite experienced, and we haven't seen a huge development in the movement in the recent years, and I believe that is basically due to economic downturn, maybe, and also due to the fact that Slovakia in fact is a very small country. It's only 50,000 square kilometers and 5 million people altogether. So the question is whether we really need more community foundations. Some 60% of the population in Slovakia have access to community foundation. So we can say that quite a few people have an access, although what we need to say too is that the capacity of community foundations are stretched pretty thin. They do not have much money, and they are understaffed in most cases, but I believe that's going to be the case in many other countries, whether in Western world or post-socialist area. Slovak foundations have very diverse base of donors. They work with individuals, they work with corporations, with small businesses, and most of them also with local governments. They try to access EU funding, not particularly successfully, that depends, but they try to stay away from high-risk EU-funded programs because it has demonstrated that these funds are not very accessible for non-profit organizations, not just foundations in Slovakia. They are, in most cases, hybrid organizations, which means that they gave a number of grants, they have their own grant-making programs, but they also strive to support their communities in non-grant-making ways. So they bring people together to one table. They do advocacy, they do philanthropy promotion, education campaigns, and all that kind of stuff. And they very intensively engage with other non-profit organizations in their communities, and even on the national level. The Association of Slovak Community Foundations was started in 2003, but just like Iwona said, there has been very intense collaboration, communication amongst community foundations even before that for years. So basically the members decided in 2003 to come together officially and create this association with several purposes in mind, and that would have been a representation of community foundations on a national and international level, to advocate for community foundations and philanthropy in communication with the central government or with local government, with media, to partner with national corporate donors. The experience had been that corporations who wanted to support the communities wanted to do that on a national level. So they wanted an organization that would be able to cover the whole area of the country, not only individual and separate communities. And last but not least was the purpose to network members and to provide information and guidance. They had been in touch, but they needed something more rational in place, or something more substantial, some form of a platform to come together regularly and provide one another with information, guidance, and some education. Activities of the association, I'll just briefly run through that for your information. What the association does at the moment is promotion and education on philanthropy. Several years ago, I believe 5 or 4, we set up Community Foundation Day. It's May 16, and all community foundations celebrate that day with some kind of an event of their communities. And this year, it was event in one day. They all had their open door days. People came to their offices and inquired about foundations. They had some discussions and got some information from their communities about what the activities they should do. We promote community philanthropy. Slovakia is a post-socialist country, and the tradition of giving and philanthropy understanding has been sort of slow to catch up. And it is probably due to economic situation, but also to the need to change people's mindsets. People still reminisce about good old days when the government took care of everything and people did not really struggle with housing and unemployment, that kind of stuff that we see every day today. So people somehow keep forgetting about other things that are important in their communities and that they need to get engaged themselves. Then the association runs programs. We have actually several grant-making programs that the members then take over. The association tries to raise funding on a national level and then gives the money to the members to make grants on a local level. Also, the association is the umbrella organization for Youth Philanthropists program, which is basically youth bank in Slovakia. So now we have 8 youth volunteers groups operating in the country, and they are affiliated with their local community foundations from whom they get their advice and the funds basically too. And we have one national donor for that program. Last year we started an exciting new campaign on the bequest giving. Bequests are very new to Slovak audience, and the Association of Community Foundations was the first association or organization in the country to get engaged into this topic. We gave a conference in November and tried to introduce this topic to media and the community at large, and to other non-profits as well. So we'll be continuing in that. And we also get engaged into advocacy and networking activities. We have new government from last year, from October, and the legislation is changing all the time, and we definitely need more donor-friendly legislation, which is a huge ambition, but we need to be seen and heard. So we like to get engaged in other platforms and groups of non-profits to be more visible on the national level. And speaking about standards, I will only say a few highlights, not to bore you to tears. We use 2 approaches in the association, hard approach and soft approach. The hard approach is used or is based on application of standards. The association has had a standard ever since its creation. So it was back in 2003 that when the members came together and came up with a list of things that they thought all newcomer community foundation or all members should respect. And the basic points are that community foundation is autonomous, non-governmental, non-profit, and publicly supported philanthropic institution registered as a foundation. Being registered as a foundation means that the organization must make grants. Each foundation registered by Slovak law is required to make grants. So that function is basically embedded in the name itself. And it's founded and operated for public benefit and has a well-defined, articulated mission. Has an independent governing body, which is board of directors. These people normally come from all walks of life. They represent corporate community, non-profit community in the towns or villages or cities where we have community foundations. And which is very important is that community foundation in Slovakia represents or serves a very particular geographic area. These might be one town, one village, or might be a whole micro-region, a group of villages and towns. Slovak community foundations that are members of the association are expected to build permanent endowment as a source of funds for the future and support broad-based charitable benefit of residents in a defined geographic area. These standards should be respected and upheld by all members. Otherwise, the member is expelled from the association. And we have actually seen such a thing. A couple of years ago, we needed to expel one member because the standards had not been respected. And let me tell you, it was quite a painful process because sometimes it is very difficult to say how much capacity the member has or has to put into building endowment or grant-making programs, and it very much depends on the size of the community and the overall character of the community. But apparently it is very necessary to stick to these standards once you have them. Endowment is required by the state, so the law itself does not require foundations to grow their endowments, but the organizations need to have a certain amount of money ready when they want to get registered. So that money needs to stay there forever. And soft approaches are based on communication and collaboration of members themselves. So when we get together, which is 3 or 4 times a year, people share lessons learned, they exchange experience, they speak about their programs and projects, and they learn from one another about how to perform their work most effectively. Also, most of them share their policies, whether it's gifts and fund acceptance, conflict of interest, grant guidelines, or due diligence. The Slovak foundations are required by the law to have their money audited or their financial balance audited every year. So that's another hard measure to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And challenges to standards. I was speaking about the endowment already, and that's pretty much the case in all foundations in Slovakia, not just community foundations. What I have personally seen as a challenge is the economic downturn, of course. Raising for endowment is difficult, but also raising for human resources. So people cannot actually spend as much time or have as many people in the office as they would like to, and it does have some implications on the not the quality of work itself, but how much you can do on the span of activities that you can do. Strong grant-making, programmatic orientation. The foundations have become more hybrid than ever before. Before, maybe 5 years ago, most of them were making larger grants, had more grant-making programs. Right now, they're trying to be very creative and helping their communities in other ways too. And the leadership crisis. I'm not sure you have seen this in your countries, but I've seen this here, that people who have stuck with their community foundations have been here for long, but we apparently need some other people, but there's just not resources to do that. So I can see the quite extensive burnout in my people, and it pains me to see it, but apparently, I hope it's only a phase we go through. But, well, we'll see. And that's it. Sorry I was too quick, but we need some time for questions and such, so please, if you want to ask anything, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katka, for your great presentation. We'll have now question and answer. Before question and answer, while we prepare for question and answer, we'll put up a 2-minute final poll. So Anna, you can take the floor and put your poll while we prepare for question and answer. We already have some questions that came through, so if you have your question, please place on the chat box or in the question and answer, and we'll be answering soon.
Hi everyone. So here is our second poll on other topics you might want us to cover in future webinars or discussion groups. So as you can see there, the first one is monitoring and evaluation, pardon me, and communication strategy, organization sustainability, legal and fiscal framework, or none of the above. If you have any other suggestions, please just type them on the chat box or send us a comment on the Q&A or an email. We'd greatly appreciate any suggestions. You're very welcome. And are you interested in participating in groups and forums to discuss the Community Foundation field and development in the field? So if you could just let us know, and maybe we can organize global groups on it. So we'll take a couple of minutes to allow everyone to answer our poll. And meanwhile, if you have any questions again, just please type them on the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay, I'll be closing the poll in 15 seconds. And share with your results. And there you go. So most of you would like to know more about communication strategies and organizational sustainability and monitoring and evaluation. And also it's really good to know that about 6-7% of you are interested in participating in discussion forums. So we'll just take down all your names and organizations and try to organize forums on the topics. And if you do organize anything on the field, just do let us know. Thank you. So Daniela, would you like to go to our first question?
Yes, so our first question, we have a couple of questions here. Can you, one question, Anna, can you?
Sure. We have a question here from Yamami Mutina. I hope I pronounced that right. So, the question is for all panelists. Are most of the community foundations that you represent operating on the community foundation model used in the United States, or are there variations and adaptations to the local context that have been made? So mostly for Katka or Iwona, and Jane, if you want to add anything, did you change anything on the community foundation model from the US?
May I?
Yes, Iwona, you can.
Yes. We tried to, at the beginning, we tried to learn as much as we could about the American model. And when we were preparing to introducing the Community Foundation supporting program, we adapted this US model to Polish conditions, of course. First, we had to adapt it to the Polish law. As I know, Poland is probably the only one country where community foundations can operate also as an association. And here we have, it stems from the various different facts. So the first fact is that we had, at that time when we were, when the first community foundations in Poland were set up, there was a time when establishing a foundation in Poland took at least 12 months. And establishing an association took 3 weeks. So that was the first reason that we have among 26 community foundations, we have about half of them are associations. And we also adapt to Polish model, to Polish conditions, from the donor orientation to local needs orientation, because we do not have as many donors as Americans have. So our model is a bit different than American one. But we of course were following many aspects of American model of community foundation in Poland.
Thank you so much, Iwona, for answering. But we have another question to Katka. So, Katka, there's a question from Barbara Leopold, and she asked, that sounds like Slovakia Community Foundation, with the help of the association, share many characteristics and practice with Western Community Foundation. What would you say the Community Foundation characteristic or challenge most reflect of the Slovakia particular environment?
Well, that's a big question, but just thinking about Iwona, what just has said about the differences, I would say that what the foundations needs to do, and you wouldn't probably see that in the Western world or overseas, is changing people's mindset about how they feel about philanthropy and their own engagement in public affairs. So the Slovak Community Foundations have done a lot of work in, let's say, voter mobilization, in public engagement, encouragement programs. But on the other hand, they also have become very donor-oriented too. But there has been a very healthy balance between community-oriented and donor-oriented programs. So they communicate very closely with potential program donors, and they see them as part of their community. So they do come forward and listen to their needs as well, and structure programs together, which I think is a very good strategy to build your donor base where you live. And it's important that we need endowment and money for endowment coming from individuals and regular people, but in Slovakia, support from corporations, from the business sector, has been very important in the current legislative environment and economic environment. So the foundations have turned to this sector too for support, but come forward as partners, not as beggars in a way. So they do not only get the money, but they offer collaboration, and together with the businesses, they can help businesses achieve what they want to achieve in the communities.
Thank you, Katka. So we are running out of time. But I'll quick ask. There are a couple more questions on the floor, and I'll quick ask a question to Jane. And there's a question about what is the most striking difference between a community foundation and an association?
Okay, thank you, Daniela. I think the most striking difference is the kind of support that an association is providing to its members. Normally, an association would have a group of organizations or foundations that are members of their association. So the role that the association can play in nurturing relationships between foundations that are all doing similar kinds of work, the role that an association plays in building resources and training and materials and support to help a community foundation be successful in its work. I think that some of the examples that we've talked about today, a community foundation can also play that role as an association, and I think the difference is it's the support that they're providing to their peers, to those other foundations that are doing work similar to what they're doing. And in some countries, we've been fortunate enough to have a separate association established that focuses solely on that support piece.
Thank you, Jane. So our email and contact information is on the board, and we will be sending to you all the presentations and also the recording of this webinar. So, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for your participation. And when you finish this webinar, you will receive a short survey. So hopefully you have 1 minute to answer. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Hello? Hello?
Da fiz outra pergunta na primeira dissociation. Eu queria fechar, e aí como é que eu faço?